Hello, Rama Rama Pupodu. Hope all are in good health, feeling great, wonderful, having a nice and happy, peaceful life. Now let's go to chapter 42, part 2. God does everything for the best. Bobat parted from Ramdas at Verawal since he had to return to Wadwan city, his native place, while Ramdas boarded the BISN steamer sailing for Bombay. The steamer started from Verawal in the night and reached Bombay port in the evening next day. He made his way straight to Sanjeev Rao's rooms, where he was an agreeable surprise both to Sanjeev Rao and his wife. This time Ramdas' stay in Bombay extended to over 2 weeks, and he had to go through a fully crowded program. Hundreds of visitors from various parts of Bombay poured in to see him from every morning until late in the night, and he was kept either busy talking or entertained with sweet kirtan of the devotees who could sing. Of these, a young friend, Ratnakar by name, arranged for two discourses by Ramdas at the hall of the Saraswat Association, Gamdevi. On each occasion, there was a crowded audience mainly of Saraswats. The first discourse was in English on the goal of life, and the second in Konkani on Karma Yoga. The second was largely attended by Saraswat ladies. As Ramdas spoke extempore, which he always did, the supreme bliss he was enjoying flowed out in words. At the time, he found himself in a state of perfect ecstasy. He talked freely like a child before the motherly audience, for the friends and mothers assembled heard him with all love and patience. The substance of his discourse on the goal of life was the highest gift. This human life is granted to us by God in order to realize Him, the supreme reality, who is eternal bliss and peace. God realization means universal vision, that is, to become ever conscious of our union with an impersonal, calm, pure, changeless, and all pervading existence, and look upon all form and changes as the expression of that truth. This exalted state is attained by constant attunement of the mind to the single thought of truth through a ceaseless stream of remembrance and meditation of it. The condition of our progress towards the truth depends upon our order and intensity for its attainment. When we understand the truth as the goal of life, our approach to it becomes easy and rapid. The aim of life should not be anything short of this highest consummation of human life. Concentration of thought and effort is the first desideratum. For concentration, the easiest method is the constant repetition of the divine name. He who possesses the name is possessed of the truth. What has made Ramdas swim always in an ocean of bliss and peace? It is the divine name. He is present before you as a living example, showing the potency of the name. Friends invited him to Santa Cruz and Matunga, where also he had to deliver two discourses. Gold willed that his servant and child should thus be drawn out from obscurity into the limelight of Bombay to preach about his greatness and the glory of his name. In the course of his discourse at Santa Cruz, when he touched upon the golden principle, God does everything for the best, he narrated a popular story in support of the deep truth underlying the motto. A king with his minister, followed by his retinue, once went into the depths of a jungle on a hunting expedition. Now the minister was well known for his wisdom. He held the motto, God does everything for the best, and whenever anyone went to him for advice in his trouble, woe, and misfortune, the minister would reconcile the distressed party by inducing him to acknowledge the truth of the saying. The king and the minister, in their hunt for game, separated from the followers and roamed far into the interior of the extensive forest and eventually lost their way. The sun rose to the meridian. The king was oppressed with fatigue and hunger. They rested in the shade of a tree. Minister, said the exhausted king, I am sorely upset through pangs of hunger. Can you get me something to eat? The minister looked around and discovered fruits on the trees. Climbing up a tree, he plucked a few ripe fruits and presented them to the king. The king, in his haste to eat the fruit, while cutting it with a penknife, chopped off a little bit of his finger. With a cry of pain, he dropped both the fruit and the knife, his injured finger streaming with blood. "Oh!" he cried out. "How it pains! Oh, minister, God does everything for the best," put in the minister quietly. These words tended only to rouse the already pertulated king. He flew into a rage and rang out, "Fool! Trust to your philosophy. I have had enough of it. While I am suffering from excruciating agony, and the only solution you can tender is God does everything for the best. How can this be the best when my pain is palpable and real? Avenant, I will have nothing of you in future. Get out of my sight, and never show your face to me again." The king could not control himself, and rising up, kicked the minister furiously and commanded him to take himself off at once. While the minister was leaving the king, he calmly reiterated, "God does everything for the best." Now the king was left alone. He tore a stripe of his garment and bandaged his injured finger, and was given to sad reflections. When two stalwart men were seen approaching him, they instantly fell on the king and bound him hand and foot. Struggle or resistance was utterly useless, as the men were sturdy giants in build. The frightened king now asked, "What are you going to do with me?" They replied, "We want you to be sacrificed at the altar of our goddess Kali. It is the custom to offer to her a human sacrifice once a year. The time has arrived for it, and we were on the lookout for a human being, and we are fortunate in finding you." These words of his captors truly alarmed the king. He remonstrated, "Let me go. I am the king of a province. You cannot therefore kill me for the sacrifice." The men laughed and said, "This year's sacrifice is then going to be unique, and our goddess will be highly pleased when she finds that we bring to her altar this year an exalted personage as an offering. Come along." They dragged the victim with them to the Kali shrine not far away from the spot. He was duly placed on the sacrificial altar. Things were ready for the death blow when the priest, observing that his left hand forefinger was bandaged, unloosened it and discovered that a portion of it had been cut off. He said to the men, "This man is not acceptable to our goddess. Set him free. The goddess wants the whole man, while the man here has a defect in his body. A bit of his finger is gone. Let him go." Accordingly, untying the ropes with which he was bound, the men set the king free and allowed him to depart in peace. Now the king remembered the words of the minister uttered when his finger received the wound. God does everything for the best. Indeed, had it not been for that fortunate cut, he would have been by now a dead man. He felt keenly for the ill treatment he had meted out to his friend. He was anxious to repair the blunder by begging his forgiveness. So he rambled in the wood, called aloud the name of the minister, and at last found him out. The minister was resting beneath a tree. Going up to him, the king embraced him with extreme love and said, "Friend, I seek for your forgiveness for the cruelty I inflicted on you. The truth of your golden saying has been brought home to me." Then he narrated the incident of the intended sacrifice to the goddess, and how he was set free on account of the defect in his hand caused by the knife cut. "Sire," replied the minister, "you have done me no harm, so there is nothing to forgive. In truth, you have saved me. While you kicked and drove me away, you may remember I repeated the same. God does everything for the best. Now in my case as well, the saying has come true. For if you had not driven me away, I would have been in your company when the men of Kali captured you, and when they discovered that you were unfit for the sacrifice, they would have offered me instead. Since I had no such defect in my body like the one you had so providently acquired. So God does everything for the best. The story produced a deep impression on the minds of the friends assembled to hear Ramdas. That's all, folks. Let's see in the next chapter. Thank you. Bye bye. Rama Rama Puppodu.